Please tell me the story you were telling back when you guys were going to draft and you guys were down taking a look at 15 down there in Lubbock.
Yeah, we did. And I tell you, even before we went down there, Terry Magula's son was all into like stats and statistics and those kind of things. And I'm talking about real stats and statistics, on all the quarterbacks that were going to be coming out the year Patrick and those guys came out. Right. And I just remember Terry Magula one time coming in and telling us, he says, man, my son did all this research on this guy, on these all these players. And he says, man, my research says that the best quarterback in the draft is Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. And of course, nobody knew the whole story about Patrick at that time. Of course. So, well, what we do now is we go make the quarterback circuit with the private plane, going and visiting. I think there are 6 or 7 quarterbacks, Patrick, those guys, Baker Mayfield, right, all those guys. And we go down to Texas Tech we get there the night before. We have dinner with him. Some cowpoke restaurant, obviously down in West Texas. Right. Nice little restaurant. Might have been the only one they had down there with a steak. Right. But we do that. Then the next morning we're going to get up and go work him out in the stadium. And the day we got up to go work him out in the stadium, the wind's blowing, tumbleweeds are going all over the place. We go into the stadium and he's got a receiver out there that is working with him and running routes. And we're going through this, and the wind is blowing like crazy. I mean, this kid is throwing the ball through the wind like it's nothing. And I'm talking about he has one of the most unbelievable workout. And we were so worried because the conditions were not good to really evaluate and see him. Well, actually, those conditions actually told us more about him than if he was in great conditions. What it told us was that this kid right here, it doesn't matter what conditions are. Now, remember, we're in Buffalo, New York. Right. The snow is real up there now. Right. They don't measure snow up there in inches. They measure it in feet. Of course. So the weather is a factor. It's a factor up there. And so all of a sudden, this kid's making all these throws. And when it was all said and done, Mr. Magula was so enamored with this kid. And he was actually, I think, the last one we did. Right. And because we was working our way back towards Buffalo. And when it was all over, Mr. Magula now goes up to Patrick and says, can I take a picture with you? Listen now, this is the owner of the Buffalo Bills. This kid is coming out. Patrick Mahomes was the only guy that Mr. Magula asked to take a picture with during all those trips. Right. And when the draft came, obviously he was somebody that was big on the radar, and we had him he was way up there. Right. A lot of people had Baker Mayfield is going here, like some of these other guys going here because of this and that. And in the end, I think Kansas City, and I think Andy and them moved up to get him, I believe. They did. They jumped up big time, Coach. Because if you remember, that was the year that Mitchell Trubisky came out, went to the Bears. Right. Deshaun Watson came out. The Pfizer kid out of Notre Dame came out. There was a lot of quarterbacks that came out. But the Chiefs did jump up to get him. We went and worked out all of those kids. Right. And in the end, when it was all said and done, there was one quarterback that Mr. Magula says, I love. Right. And that was 15. Only one that ever took a picture with. And that told me about what he felt. And then when it was all, and he was so humble. Patrick was so humble, with the whole process. But when we left that deal, I sat there and I said to Sean, I says, I think Mr. Magula likes this guy. I think if he's there, we might need to draft him. Right. So I was coaching the quarterbacks at the time. And then Kansas City moved up and got him. Right. And then from that point on, it was easy for us to pick who we picked because, Josh Rosen was coming from UCLA. Right. Beautiful weather, all that stuff. Mitch Trubisky was coming from that. Deshaun. They were coming from places that never played in severe weather and tough conditions. Right. I mean, Buffalo is no joke. Right. Right. And so we knew that obviously after going and work with Josh Allen at when he was at Wyoming, he fit the mold because he played in bad conditions. Of course. And I'll say this about the two, having worked out both of them. Josh Allen's arm is probably as strong or stronger than Patrick Mahomes. Right. But to me, the difference is Patrick Mahomes has that innate ability to just get completions from all angles, all different positions on the football field, like nobody that we've ever seen before. Brett Favre was probably the closest one that I've seen in my time in the league that was anywhere close to what this kid is.